Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily, and we are back for basically wrapping up a fantastic week of news, analysis, fan theories, your comments, our comments, John's comments, my comments, and we're here to talk about even more comments. And specifically, James Gunn made some comments about the DCU, and he's coming to the New York Comic-Con. He was busy filming Superman when the San Diego Comic-Con was happening, but now that he is only working on Peacemaker Season 2 and post-production of Superman, he seems to have a bit more time on his hands to also promote Creature Commandos, and then he'll be coming to Comic-Con in New York for that. And who knows, maybe might get some more news about the DCU and what we should expect in the coming years, as you will. So there's that. We're also going to talk about Constantine 2 is apparently still happening because there's a script that's ready to go. And then there was this concept art that just came out for Chris Pine as potentially Hal Jordan. We're gonna get into that. He looks perfect. I'm like, okay, I looked at that, I'm like, all right, you know what? Don't need a short list, sign him up. We're going to dive into that, get your opinion, get John's opinion on it. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Batman because the Penguin is coming out next week. We have some of your comments about that to get into, but Matt Reeves has been continuing his promotional tour for the Batman epic crime saga, as it were, regarding the Penguin. And somebody asked him, what about the Batman? Are we going to get a trilogy of movies? And we have the answer for you and what Matt Reeves had to say to that. So to get into that and all that much more, as always, I've got with me John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing A-okay. I don't want to sell anything right now, but my baseball team is completely destroying one of their rivals right now, so I'm definitely in a good mood right now. So let's hope they can keep that running and squash them
Hold
like the
on.
bugs they are.
Yankees or Red Sox? Because I don't know what
Fucking
the score is.
neither. I'm a Mets fan. Get that the fuck out of here.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Cool.
You can't see. I know. I have my Giant stuff on the other side where you can't see. I have my Mets pennants, but yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we've got some people in the chat. Let's say hello to Morkatna. Hello, sir. Hello to Manolo. Morkatna is also a Giants fan. So, hey, you got some company there, John. That's great. That's good. I myself am a Patriots fan. We're in the dark ages these days.
Gross.
But, we had 2 decades of success.
Get him out of here.
Okay. It's okay. It's all right.
But you guys suck now, so it's fine. But hey, the Giants suck.
Exactly.
Yeah, we both are. Both of our football teams are terrible right now, so it's fine. It's fine.
But which team is not terrible? The DCU team, and we are all on the DCU bandwagon. So
unless we're counting that one Snyder
guy
cultist that's trolling us.
It's great because he logs on every few days and then goes and responds to everything, and you could see. So yesterday apparently was the last time he was on. So or Hanaman 1347, he goes into everything. He's like, nope. Hashtag fire James Gunn. Hashtag boycott DC Studios. Hashtag boycott WBD. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And then in one of them, I think he was like, good, because getting MCU actor to DCU is a joke. And then he did one of those hacks. Let me see. He responded to, I think, Brandon, who was talking about, picking Ewan McGregor or Chris Pine as his picks for Hal Jordan. And he responded to him, our Snyder troll, friendly neighborhood Snyder troll responded, who cares? It's already dead on arrival, ya hack. So
you could say the same thing about Hack Snyder.
Yeah. Hey, John, you might have something in common with him because he responded to Temple 277 talking about the same Green Lantern story. And he said, who cares? Because Tom King is a hack. Hashtag fire Tom King. Hashtag fire James Gunn.
All right, I'll agree with him on that one.
So I'm just saying, you might have a little bit in common there. But okay, let's get into it. All right. So the first story of the day that we have to get into is literally what broke last night. We go off the air, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, what is going on? So news came out from James Gunn himself. He posted on social media. He's like, guys, mark it down. This is the date, October 19th. New York City. Show up to the New York Comic Con. Join me, Frank Grillo, David Harbour, Zoe Chow, Sean Gunn, Dean Leroy, and Steve G for the Creature Commandos panel, and we'll fill you in on all the details of our monster army and the seeds of the DCU. Hashtag DCU. And then, of course, people are running with this and saying, look, does this mean that we're not just getting, an introduction to the DCU and Creature Commandos? Are we going to get some more insights into what's to come after Creature Commandos, including Superman? Are we going to get a teaser? Are we going to get a first look at something? I mean, my question to you is, John, are we overreacting a little bit? Is the internet going a little stir crazy right now? Because I'm thinking this panel is going to be mostly focused on Creature Commandos. He's probably going to field a few questions, if any, and those will be mostly about Creature Commandos. He's going to stay on topic, and then he's going to drop maybe one juicy detail that gives us just a little bit of a peek, just enough, so that so it's a total non-answer, like James Gunn likes to do. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, what does that mean? And then we're stuck with no updates.
Refuses
maybe,
to
I don't know,
elaborate,
Comic-Con.
leaves.
Yeah.
That's what,
What do you think this means? Does this mean that James Gunn is about to drop like a whole slate of projects that we did not know about for the DCU? Is he gonna like drop some bombs at New York Comic Con, or is this just a focused panel only for Creature Commandos itself?
I think you put it best. In all honesty, I think you put it best where it's like we'll get like maybe one or two, maybe three nuggets of information about Creature Commandos. We won't be getting anything on Superman. I'll tell you that right now. And that's kind of it. Maybe he'll and then maybe he'll talk about Full Issue a bit, even though that was before he came in. Maybe he'll talk about that since that's after the Penguin, that's the next big project. That's the next movie. So he might talk about that a little bit. He might like, when is New York Comic Con? That's mid
October 9th. It's like that weekend, October 19th. It's that whole weekend.
So it's way after Joker. Okay, so I forgot.
Yeah,
Sorry,
October 17th to the 20th. It's 4 days and in New York.
Right.
I actually I have a friend who's going. I'm gonna see if I can get her on the show because we'd love to get her insight and see if she attends the panel with James Gunn and company. So we might have some firsthand insight into this in a few weeks' time. But yes, it is middle of October, and it is after Joker would have already been in theaters for a good 2 weeks. So yeah. I mean, my other question to you would be, do you think that alongside Creature Commandos, we're about to get, any kind of surprise announcements? Are we going to get a Superman first photo? Are we going to get a new project announcement that wasn't previously announced because now maybe it's further along in development? Are we going to get an update on Waller? Are we going to get an update on Peacemaker Season 2? Because here's the thing, they're going to ask him about Peacemaker Season 2 and Superman. Do you think he's going to be giving us any new piece of information?
I will bet like my entire bank account, which is not a lot of money, but I will still bet all $3 of it. About like, I bet you like they're gonna say no Superman questions, no. They're definitely gonna say no Superman questions. Maybe they'll allow maybe some Peacemaker questions, but they'll be like no Superman questions, none. You're gonna be carried out if you fucking ask a Superman question. I bet you that. I will bet you that because no, it's way too early for a trailer. Way too early to like really be talking about this because they want to let it stew. He's trying to create his vision right now, so they don't want to fuck with that, and they don't want to like tease too much, and then people will go crazy. They don't want to do any of that, so they're gonna just talk about Creature Commandos. That's the first thing. Maybe they're gonna answer some questions about the Batman Part 2, maybe. And any other like upcoming DC projects, but like nothing. No Superman, maybe Peacemaker, but definitely no Superman. That's just he's like, I'm keeping this under wraps as much as I can, and which is respectable. So I don't mind that, but yeah, I don't think he's gonna be doing that. He wants to keep it a nice tight wrap over it.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there because that makes sense. Like he knows that there's going to be just enough, there in the panel itself with talking about Creature Commandos and this
Mhm.
because the story will tie into Superman, because of course we've got Frank Grillo's character, Rick Flag Sr. in there, that he doesn't really need to do a ton else. And quite frankly, when he's been asked one of those questions, he might give one of those non-answers that will probably give us enough fodder for months to come before we actually get a trailer for Superman. We were talking about it yesterday, right? Or actually 2 days ago now, where we were talking about how it might be not until the Super Bowl in February of next year when we actually get a trailer for the first trailer teaser for Superman. But hey, maybe he'll get asked questions about like what happens next with the Joker franchise, because but by then, depending on how people receive it, how it's doing at the box office, they'll be wondering whether there's only going to be 2 movies in this franchise, or are there more to come. I personally, honestly, given that you're going to have Steve G there and you're going to have David Harbour and Frank Grillo and Sean Gunn, I'm like, I hope that we get to see some insight into like Sean Gunn potentially, playing Maxwell Lord. You've got Steve G in Peacemaker. David Harbour. I'd love to see if he's going to be in a live action role with DC. Of course, he's in the Thunderbolts movie over at Marvel, so he's playing both sides simultaneously. I'm sure Frank Grillo is going to sing his praises again because he loves James Gunn. And maybe he'll slip us on nugget of information we didn't know any before. So we'll see. We will see, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think that James Gunn is bringing this DCU panel to New York Comic Con just to talk about Creature Commandos, or is there more to it than that? Are we about to get some brand new pieces of information regarding the new DCU, whether that includes Superman, whether that includes the Peacemaker show that's going to be, whether it's called The Peacemaker or Peacemaker Season 2? Maybe that will be one of the questions he answers. Let us know in the comments below what you think. So let's continue on with the next story, John. So we do have to talk about Constantine 2. Lorenzo di Bonaventura, who was the producer of the first movie, and he's one of the most prolific producers in all of Hollywood, he recently was asked about, hey, what's going on with this Constantine movie that was, on the books for a while? Because Keanu Reeves, if you remember a while ago, he said that, hey, they are working indeed on Constantine 2, and now it looks like Lorenzo di Bonaventura has said that he's got a script out on his desk, and he's kind of afraid to read it. I mean, I'm wondering what that really means, because does that mean like he's afraid to read it because he thinks it's a terrible script, or is he just like, oh boy, this is gonna get me started on, like, what's going on with this story, John? Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, is this gonna happen? Because a finished script doesn't make you think that they're still pretty serious about this, no?
I mean, that means nothing in this day and age. Like, you can be canceled at any facet of production. You can even not have your movie released at Warner Brothers nowadays. So, it that means absolutely sure it's nice to hear that it's like, okay, um um I feel like the thing is, I'm not going to hold my breath. The movie came out in 2005. This has been in development hell for like quite literally 20 years, almost 20 years at this point. 20 years probably when it comes out, if it's coming out soon. Um, I don't think I'm not going to be too hopeful. I mean, I haven't actually seen I've only seen bits and pieces of the original Constantine movie, and yes, I'm calling it Constantine, even though the correct pronunciation is Constantine, because this version is an American version of the character, and Americans pronounce it Constantine rather than Constantine, even though the correct terminology for the actual character is Constantine. But yeah, I mean, I am hopeful that it's gonna be, coming out, and I hope we get it. I think a lot of people are kind of clamoring for Keanu Reeves to play him again, even though he's in a very Americanized version of the character. Um, I think it would be great. I think it would be a lot of fun. I think I would prefer if they do in fact do it, it stays like an Elseworld story is its own thing. They do their own thing so they don't have to like cater to like certain continuity and all that. Just keep it its own thing. really showcase that DC is more than just like a cinematic universe, rather than Marvel, who just has to make everything about the cinematic universe. Or if it's not part of the cinematic universe, oh, it's multiverse. Just keep it its own thing. It's an Elseworld story. It's fine. So I think if it were to come out, which I'm not, I would say like I'm like kind of almost 50-50. I'm like, it could come out, could not, who knows. Um, I I just he Lorenzo di Bonaventura, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He did say he's like, I'm scared to read it because he's like, I want this. Here's the thing, he doesn't want this to be canceled either. He's like, I want this movie to be good. I have it
Yeah,
sitting in my inbox right now. I have it. I should read it, but I need to read it. But here's the thing, I'm scared to because I want it to be good that badly. And
yeah,
it is kind of ironic that Pruitt Taylor Vince, who's going to play Pa Kent in Superman, was in that movie. So very interesting little tidbit there. So I do hope that we get something. I hope we get the movie for fans of the movie. And it did have a lot of really interesting things about it, and it was its own thing. It's not exactly like Alan Moore's Hellblazer, which he probably fucking had a nervous breakdown and a temper tantrum over because it's Alan Moore and he hates everything. So I think I want this to happen. I know Bonaventura wants this to happen. A lot of people want this to happen, but like I'm not too hopeful about it with how much I don't know if we're ever gonna get it, but if we do, I think they should work hard in terms of making it, maybe just keeping it what made the original work. I think just keep that in that wheelhouse, and then it should
yeah.
be okay. But I don't know. I don't. I really am at a loss for words because a script is a good sign, but like
Hmm.
you could have a script. Oh yeah, we had this script, and then hear
Well,
nothing. Like for instance, uh, Twilight of the Dead. That's a movie that's been like they announced a director like 2 years ago, and then we heard nothing about it since. So it's like, yeah, we're excited. Yeah, we have a director, but it's like when you get no information outside of that. So it's like literally only time will tell. So yeah, sure, we have a script. He's
right.
confirming that they have a script, but that could mean diddly fucking squat when it's like 5 years later and they don't have anything else. Because Francis Lawrence, he's going to be doing the next Hunger Games. Because even though the book just came, the next Hunger Games spinoff just came out, they already confirmed another movie adaptation. So he's going to be busy with that. Who knows if it's going to come out before or after then? So who the fuck knows? Total
Yeah.
shit, total shot in the dark.
Right. Well, also, Akiva Goldsman is the one writing the script. So I'm like, to me, he's got a mixed track record. So I wonder, I mean, if that's a good sign or not. But look, we've got a script. It's better than just like it's in development hell. We know we have a script, and so we know what the logical next step would be, and whether that means they're going to approve it, they're going to want to work on it further. The fact that this project is still somehow alive is, speaks to me and says that, hey, they've got a star, and Keanu Reeves is interested. He's not getting any younger. They've now got a script. They've got a producer, and they don't just have any producer. They have one of the greatest producers working in Hollywood and probably of all time in terms of his credits, in Lorenzo di Bonaventura, and of course he is very
I don't know if
interested in
he would
making
be
this
one of
happen.
the best in the industry. He did produce Madam Web, so I don't know how great that is, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, what I
I'm
mean is
just
like,
kidding.
if
I'm just kidding.
yeah, the dude's credits are insane.
Yeah,
Like
he does have an insane
it's
amount of credits.
like if you just look at his box office record, like he's produced the entire Transformers franchise. He's done like a ton of stuff for Paramount, the Meg franchise, which, like it or not, the movies make plenty of money. He's done the GI Joe movies. He's of course done the Jack Ryan stuff. He did Doom, the 2005 Doom, which not a I don't know if that's
We
you
don't
want to take it
talk
as a
about.
compliment. But he did that movie Salt with Angelina Jolie. Like the man has some weight, and so if he wants to make this movie happen and he feels really confident about the script, which fingers crossed he wants it to be good, then chances are this movie will still get made. And I'm excited. I want to see an Elseworld story where Keanu Reeves is still Constantine, and maybe we'll get him in a crossover with the DCU at some point. That would be nice to see. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that. Of course, if you guys are joining in late, because I saw a bunch of you guys trickling in a little bit late, we were earlier talking about how James Gunn is bringing a DCU panel to New York Comic Con. If any of you are attending, let us know, because we'd love to hear from you. And if you were going to be in presence for that Comic Con, then let us know what that's like. We have somebody who I will be looking to bring into the show potentially to talk about that, because she will be there at Comic Con all 4 days, the whole weekend, October 17th to the 20th. And James Gunn on October 19th is going to be bringing his Creature Commandos panel with guys like Sean Gunn and Steve G and Frank Grillo. They're all going to be there talking about Creature Commandos. But our question is, are they going to be talking about more than just Creature Commandos and the rest of the DCU, including Superman, Peacemaker, Waller, the Lantern Show? Speaking of which, John, let's get to our main story of the day, as it has been for a little while now. We keep talking about it every day, but it's worth it, because today we've got some concept art. There's this really cool social media account, 21x4, 21 Concepts. I've been following this account for a while, and I think they put up like a concept art of Glenn Powell as Batman in the DCU. And yesterday I came across this Hal Jordan concept art, and they've put Chris Pine in there. So, and of course the quote, Green Lantern is light. And if you look at the artwork, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm like, if you look at this artwork, then there is nothing you have to do in terms of just thinking about Ewan McGregor, Matthew McConaughey, Josh Brolin, or even Timothy Olyphant. I'm like, Chris Pine is it. He's it. Like, this looks perfect. I'm like, this is about as perfect as it can get. Like, he's got the look. He can pull off the Hal Jordan as a fighter pilot. He looks fantastic in the suit. So, kudos to 21 Concepts. Again, doing a fantastic job here. And I'm convinced, John. What do you think? What do you think about this?
I don't know. I mean, this is really good concept art. I still love Timothy Olyphant, and because the thing is, I'm very doubtful that Chris Pine wants to come back to the DCU, or DC in general, because you have that, he does have that history, and people have been like kind of clamoring, like, oh, give other actors a chance that have not been in the DC universe, which is fair. But I mean, I would still love to see him. I think he would be pitch perfect for the role. Timothy Olyphant is still my favorite, but mainly because of that interview he gave. So, yes, would I want to see Chris Pine? And I think this concept art is very, very good. Timothy Olyphant's still my favorite, but this would be awesome to see. I mean, but the thing is, I'm very doubtful that they would go for that. But if it's like, again, if it's like in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Chris Pine, fuck it, they gave me so much money. I wanted this much money. You know what? Hell with it. I need another boat. Let's fucking go. Let's be Green Lantern. Hell yeah. So maybe that's just the ticket. They just need to keep throwing money at him, like, here, take this, here, you can buy a boat, you can buy a mansion, you can not feed the hungry, so do whatever the hell you want with your fucking money. Now come back to us, but this time as Green Lantern, which, not gonna lie, would be fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you, would be great, but I still want Timothy Olyphant really badly. I'm just saying. That's just me.
I mean, he looks perfect, and Manolo agrees. He's like, looks great. Agree with you, Manolo. I think.
I know the Watcher would agree too, because he was like, "Fine as hell, let's go." I don't know if he's here right now, but I don't
Let
worry.
us know if you're watching, Watcher.
Yeah, who watches the Watcher?
I don't know who does watch the Watcher, but. John, do you think when you look at this concept art, we're talking about a grizzled veteran Green Lantern, a legend of the Lantern's Corps.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this Green Lantern would work really, really well if he was like plopped in that Ryan Reynolds movie from 2011. Do you think he looks a little too in the peak of his prime? I mean, not saying he can't be
I think they need to give him, how it is, like the gray on the sides, because that was
Yeah,
that case in like the 90s, like right before he became, I think like in the
right.
80s and 90s, right before he became Parallax. Yeah, I know. And they're probably going to do that eventually, just not right now, because I think it's a little bit too early to do that. Because I forget who the comment was, but like you got to have an established Hal Jordan for at least a while to make us care
Yeah.
about him, and then have him become Parallax. Just because it would be really dumb to have like, oh yeah, at the end of the season, Parallax, and then we're gonna get Kyle Rayner. It's like that's like way too quickly when we haven't even if this is a rookie Jon Stewart, then it's like then it's like, okay, now we have two rookies, or I mean we still have Guy Gardner, I guess, but even then it's like two
Well, no,
rookies back to back.
clearly the casting call doesn't call for a rookie. Like this, Hal Jordan needs to have some experience, right? But
No,
I'm
I
just
mean like
saying,
Jon Stewart's a rookie. That's what I'm
I
saying.
see what you
And
mean.
and
Oh,
and
and
then
then Kyle
if they
Rayner.
make him Parallax, Kyle Rayner would be
Yeah,
another rookie, and then that would be two. That's what I was saying. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't think they're gonna do that quickly. But again, Tom King, I don't trust him, so who knows? But we can only hope. I would say make his hair maybe a little darker, maybe a little grayer. Um, but outside of that, I think this slaps. Not gonna lie, but yeah, Green
Yeah.
Lantern's light, baby. Let's go. Um, but yeah, I
Oh yeah.
think that I mean it's great. Like yes, it's like if like okay, Timothy Olyphant and Chris Pine are both 10 out of 10. So
Right.
it's like this. It's like a
Pretty close.
fingernail like
Pretty
of
close.
Timothy Olyphant slightly, but like still Chris Pine is still fucking would be excellent. I'm
Yeah.
just but the thing is, it would be totally understandable that he's like, I don't want to go back to DC. Wonder Woman 84 was a shit show, and I want to make my movies because he did his directorial debut last year with Poolman. He's like, I just want to focus on my little indie movies. I don't want to go back to DC. Yeah, you could throw $400 million my way, and I'll still say no. So who knows? And I would still love to see him, but that's like kind of the rickety sort of vibe a bit that it's like, let's see, but don't hold your breath.
Okay. I have a question, right? So let
Mm-hmm.
me put yourself in the position of the folks over at DC Studios, James
Mm-hmm.
Gunn, the showrunner for the show, right? Even Tom King, if you will. I know it's not your favorite thing to do necessarily, but for the moment, think about this. You have pitched this role of Hal Jordan to Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin said, "No, I'm good." Matthew McConaughey is like, nah, I'm gonna take a left turn. All right, all right, all right." No. So we got two people out the way. Now you've got Ewan McGregor, Chris Pine, and then you've got Timothy Olyphant. Timothy Olyphant gets a great offer from Disney, and he's like going back to the Mandoverse, and he's going to do something big there. Scheduling conflicts. Ewan McGregor, he's like, I just don't think it's going to work out. The compensation package isn't quite there. Maybe I'm doing some other
And
things.
maybe he just wants to prefer, keep his schedule open for maybe
Keep it
Star Wars
scheduled.
stuff. Who
Exactly.
knows?
Maybe he wants to go back and do another Obi-Wan Kenobi, something related to that. Now it comes down to Chris Pine, right? And let's
Mm-hmm.
suppose there's nobody else on the short list and no other names come to fore. What will it take for DC to convince Chris Pine to take this role on, and what kind of guarantees would they need to give him? I mean, obviously, money will be part of the equation. If Chris Pine is indeed reticent to take on the role, what will it take for him to say yes?
Maybe a little bit more. Maybe he gets like an executive producer credit. Maybe he gets, maybe some creative freedom with like how he wants to interpret the character. Because I know actors, balls of ego and insecurity, ladies and gents. So he wants to like put his fingertips on this character. So he's like, okay, I want some creative freedom. Um, yeah, I think Carl Urban could be fun. I mean, that's for another day. We'll get into that, but I do have Carl Urban on the docket for a fan casting. But I think they'll probably do that. They'll probably give him like a proper contract. Be like, okay, he's like, I don't want to, this shit to like fail, it goes sideways, and then I'm without another blockbuster franchise. So like give me a contract. So like I do this many seasons, this many shows, this many seasons, and then this many movies, this and that, and like it's because like if the other two guys do deny it and he's the only one left, then he'll be like, okay, he's like, yeah, there's a lot riding on this because a lot of people want me in for the role, so you're gonna fucking listen to me now. Kneel before pine. That's what it's gonna be. So
Yeah.
I do think that they are gonna, you know, bend to his will a
I see
bit.
what you did
So
there.
yeah, they're gonna bend to his will a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna probably do a lot of things to keep him,
Yeah.
to get him,
Right. It makes sense. It's also like earlier, the Watcher, by the way, mentioning that there's a rumor going around Ewan McGregor is the top pick right now based on the people that
That
are
makes
left in the
sense.
running. It's a rumor, of course, take it for what it's worth. It's certainly with a grain of salt. I think if Ewan McGregor is indeed the pick, remember I told you a couple of days ago, I was like, if you look at the picture that they released when they first announced, the DCU slate, and you look at that picture of Hal Jordan with the beard and everything, and I'm like, you could take the version of Obi-Wan Kenobi that with all the beard and the facial hair that Ewan McGregor has in there, just turn him into a brunette and then put him in to that image. I can see it. I can kind of see it. But also, I can see Chris Pine doing a fantastic. I mean, the guy rolls around with a big ass beard anyway, so like you don't have to do a ton of work. You just gotta like, maybe clean it up a little bit and put him in the costume if that's what it takes. And you can see based on this concept art alone, he fits the description of a lantern. I think he was already playing a pilot, Steve Trevor, in Wonder Woman, so he's already been a similar character, just in a different century in the DCEU. So now you can introduce him as a character in the DCU, and yeah, we'll get into some of your comments later, guys. One of you guys were talking about this exactly, the idea that you're bringing him an actor back who's already had experience with DC, but in a different role. We have seen examples of that already. John Cena, of course. You've got Viola Davis, but Manolo is like, Pine isn't getting the Star Trek 4 money anytime soon. Just saying. Yeah, I don't think anybody's getting that money because Paramount doesn't have that money to give out to anybody, which is why that movie isn't happening. Or just it's happening, then it's not happening. It's happening, then it's not happening. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. The Watcher saying if the rumor is true, then Guns is really dead set in bringing him older. Oh yeah, well Ewan McGregor is older than Chris Pine, so it would make sense that if but then again, this might not be a James Gunn decision. It's up to the showrunners of the show. James Gunn will give them certain amount of autonomy on the idea, right? So unless you think, John, what do you think? Do you think James Gunn gets the final say on this pick, or is this up to the showrunners to decide?
Well, considering that the showrunner, 66% of the showrunners fucking blow. I don't know. I hope Chris Mundy can see what the fans want and then do that. Instead of, frickin' frack kind of leading the charge of like, let's cast Timothy Chalamet as Hal Jordan. Yeah, he needs to be like 55, but like people love the Timothy Chalamet, right? So, like I just hope they can make a good decision. I don't
I mean, I don't
fully
want
have
them to
trust in
age
them.
up Timothy that much. Come on now, we don't need that. Chalamet, that is, not Oliphant. Oliphant, I think, is a perfect age as is. But yeah, Chris Pine to me is just looks fantastic. This is, I can't say it enough. Like that jacket there, the ring. You put him in the costume. The mask looks a little photoshopped even in that image, but it's. I think when you see it in the movie, I'm sure it would look fantastic. So, or the TV show. Uh, do you think if they were to cast Chris Pine in this role, who's a good fit alongside him? Do you think we need to kind of reconsider our picks, whether it was John David Washington, Aaron Pierre, or do you think somebody else might be a good fit? Because obviously the chemistry between the two characters matters because it's going to be like a buddy
I
cop
think
detective
they should
mystery thing.
go for, because Aaron Pierre, I think he's 30 and he looks 30. I would say like since I think Aaron Pierre would work better with Ewan and Timothy because they're a little bit older. But I think they should get someone who's like like maybe 25 to
Yeah.
27
Like, I was gonna
for
say, you could go younger with a Jon Stewart if you get Chris Pine as Hal
if
Jordan,
you get
no?
Chris Pine, because
Yeah,
then it would make more sense. Get someone who's like a little bit younger. I don't know who that would
right.
be. Um, but get someone who's like in their late 20s, get an unknown,
Yeah.
and rather than someone who's like 30, 31, I would say get to someone in their early 30s. If you go with like the guys who are in their 50s, get
Mhm.
someone who's in their late 20s if you get someone like Chris Pine, because then I feel like the age would be a little bit better. I'm not saying it wouldn't work like if he's only like 15 years, and you could always like age them up a little bit more, give him a little dye, give him a little makeup job, give him a little more, some more wrinkles, and then boom, there you
Yeah.
go. But in terms of like, how they can, you know, how they can make it work, and I just think like in terms of like the realism of age kind of thing, because it all comes down to a visual stance. Like I know that age technically doesn't really matter because people look younger than their age, look older than their age. There's makeup, there's prosthetics. I mean, look at fucking Colin Farrell as the Penguin. So, they could do all this stuff, but I mean, like, people sometimes in like a certain headspace, they see these guys and they're like, oh, that's clearly a 40 something year old in makeup to look older. So I think that would be. I'm just trying to think in the eyes of like a general audience member and what they would think. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've I can go on a rant about the white eyes debate, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna say this in regards to the white eyes. So that's what I had to say about the age. But in terms of the white eyes, I don't like the white eyes, no matter what character. The only one it like kind of works for is Deadpool, because so much of his character is like through the jokes he tells with his mouth that you don't really need to like be expressive. But thing is, eyes are windows to the soul. An actor's
You have
eyes
to
is
look
like
them
one of
out.
their
Yeah,
greatest assets.
yeah,
So that is very important for characters like Green Lantern and Batman. Batman a little bit more so, because I know everyone's like, I want to see the white eyes for Batman, but it's like he has like 85% of his face covered. He needs to express himself with those eyes, especially a character that has a lot of humanity to him. So yeah, you could probably get away with the white eyes for Green Lantern because most of his face is uncovered. However, with Batman, I know this is a bit of a side tangent because we're not talking about Batman, but I hate the white eyes for Batman. I don't even like it for Green Lantern. Just I'm sick of the white eyes debate, and it's like, I don't like it. I'm sick of people being like, it's like sometimes it just looks better in animated or comic form. You don't need to have that in live
yeah,
action. Like
yeah. I
it's a
did. Yeah,
weird hill to die on, especially because like voice actors are already doing so much heavy lifting, and those guys are usually specialized in that sort of thing. um well, it depends on Andy Muschietti because he's the director, and James Gunn is
right,
very hands off when it comes to the director's vision now, because that was the
right. Yeah,
greatest fault of the DCEU, is that, and a big fault of the MCU is the fact that they don't give these directors enough credit to make their movie. They just want to. For MCU, it's more so assembly line stuff. DCU was just like constant fucking with people's visions or hiring directors that just, to do a job. And I don't want the white contact lenses, even though I didn't totally hate those. I kind of get what they were going for, but I just don't like the white eyes. I really don't. Like, an actor in a live action format needs as much as they can to express themselves. And I feel like taking away their eyes is taking away a big part of their expressive nature. I know that these characters, you don't need like a Daniel Day-Lewis or a Marlon Brando to play them, although ironically he played Jor-El. But in terms of like the main guys dressing up in like a superhero costume and doing that, um they need as much help as they can get to carry this. So, and I think taking away their eyes is a big part of that, and I
right.
just don't think that that's the right choice for that. So
Yeah,
that's just my piece on that. I know I'm probably in the minority with that, but I'm just seeing it from like an actor's point of view, and I'm pretty sure Robert Pattinson or Matt Reeves said this when they were talking about the Batman. So I just think that they need like a lot of help with that. And I don't think I don't like the white eyes. I'm just gonna say I don't like the white eyes for
I
any
agree.
superhero.
I think it's like you said, it works
Except
better
for
in
like Deadpool.
yeah. Well, Deadpool being the exception, but I think it works better in animation and comic book form than it does in live action because when you get to live action, like it's just there's a reason why we only got Batman with white eyes in the Dark Knight for that one scene when he's wearing that sonar vision thingy.
Hmm.
Um, you could tell like it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look human, which if you're trying to get that like menacing effect, like Batman was a menace for that sequence, he's going out, he's taking out like all these Joker followers or whatever. Like it worked for a sequence. It wouldn't have worked for a whole movie. So I agree that I think you also need to give that emotion, the actors need to emote using their eyes. You need to give them that access. You need to give the audience that emotional access to the actors. So yeah, I think it looks good in the concept art, but when it comes to the movie and the TV show, unless it's like, maybe one of those things where, Superman, when he, in the Man of Steel, they treat it like when they get really angry, they shoot lasers out of their eyes. And in that context, it works better. But otherwise, I just don't think, if anything, it makes them look like bad guys. Like when your eyes, like it's a trope that's been done for decades in Hollywood where essentially when you see a character whose eyes glow or do something other than what eyes normally do, it's an indicator that that oh, there's something weird going on. This character is
Yeah,
evil. They're
like
like,
for
so
instance,
you know
I'm sorry to cut you off, but
yeah,
it's like the most perfect timing, and because the trailer for Salem's Lot just came out, the
yeah,
remake of Salem's Lot, and a
hmm,
big component of that movie is that the vampire's eyes
yeah,
glow, and that's how you can like see them in the
hmm,
dark. So that's a perfect thing to bring up. So
exactly,
yeah, that's like I just thought of that. I'm like, oh my god, that's
yeah,
so I didn't even like think of that, but now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So it's like,
yeah,
and Salem's Lot, boom, perfect analogy in terms of
exactly,
something recent, which I'm stoked for. I hope we review that on the show because that honestly, that trailer got me hooked. That was filmed
yeah.
like 3 years ago, but I'm excited for that. I might have to reread. I might have to read the book now because I've had it on my shelf for like years, and I'm like, I need to read that goddamn book. But yeah,
We'll get into it when it
yeah,
comes out. Yeah,
I think it would be really, really I know that people want like the comic book nature, and if James Gunn doesn't, again, it's not like something I would be mad about, and I'm sure they can like make it work. But I did the Bane voice yesterday, so if anybody wants to see that, when the season finale of Kite Man, I did do that. So if people want to see that, I did that yesterday. Um, but I just think it would be a bit of a mistake, not a major mistake. It would just be a nitpick on my end. I think it would be a major nitpick, but again, at the end of the day, just a nitpick. And I think they could probably they work. Maybe I think Red Lanterns could be a good like starting villain because like Sinestro Corps in terms of like a Lanterns show that needs to be like the end of it because that's their biggest villain. But Red Lanterns is just as good of a threat and I think would be awesome. I would love to see Atrocitus and Dexstar. That would be great. But
yeah. That's what the Watcher wants to see. Space, his favorite space cat,
yeah.
Dexter. Um, by the way,
Yeah.
O'Shea
Thank
caught
you,
the shirt that
O'Shea.
you're wearing.
Yeah, boy. Let's go. Superman. Superman. Let's go.
It's a great T-shirt. You want to show it off because like you can
Yeah.
get this shirt if you guys want.
Yeah.
It's on the
It's this
website.
is like the official this was the one that was like sold out for like the longest time, but they finally restocked it recently. So it's I think about like almost it's like $35. But they're offering so get something else for like $15 and then you'll get free shipping. Free shipping for $50 or more. So do that. But yeah, I got my shirt. I got another shirt coming in. I think it should be here sometime next week. And then I have yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I mean, he has a thing for pets, so I mean it would work. But he's not working on lanterns, so who knows? But yeah, I'm getting a couple things in a couple days, so
Nice.
Crypt.
O'Shea also saying White Eyes could work in the DCU because James Gunn going for fantastical look, so it could work.
It
I
could
mean, it's
work. Yeah, thank you, the watcher. Yes, I'm representing the swag. Let's fucking go. And then if you guys didn't see yesterday, I did get the mug. Nothing's in the mug. I drank my water yesterday, but I do have the mug. And I also, I have this isn't the only ring I got, but I did get more rings. So, I didn't get just the Green Lantern ring. That's maybe a future episode. But I do have others, but I do have these. And I got these like years ago. They're like fat, like plastic rings. These actually, see, this one doesn't fit on any of my fingers. Like I got like, yeah, it doesn't fit. I have really fat, chubby fingers, so none of like it doesn't fit on like any of my fingers. So that's why I had to put it on my pinky because that's the only one. That's the only finger the ring with. But this does actually fit my finger. So hold on, let me here. I can put I'm not much of a hat guy. Not unless I'm like gonna be in the sun for a long time. Like if I'm going to a baseball game, then I'll wear a hat. But yeah, see this one works. But I've seen them also in Chris Pine's concept art. He wore it on his middle finger. Maybe if I can, there we go. Yeah. See, there we go. So I do have all my, yeah. See, he's got it on the middle finger, but I'm gonna put it on my third finger so it doesn't get stuck. But yeah, there it is. Boom. I hope so. I think Lobo would be better for Woman of Tomorrow, but I wouldn't mind seeing him soon, played by Jason Momoa. That would be amazing.
I mean,
So,
wouldn't it be because they're off after a galactic space college, right? So it's like, yes, the mystery takes place on Earth, but like I have a feeling they're gonna end up, in outer space at some point in the show. At least I hope they do. And Lobo would make sense. I mean, it might be a primer for a bigger role in Supergirl, if indeed that is the case. I would love to see him, Kyle. That's a good shout.
mhm.
Would you guys like to see Lobo in the show? Because that would be fantastic. By
Hell
the way, the
yeah.
Watcher also adding to it. The comic book stores used to sell like a collection of lantern rings back in the day. I
Yeah.
remember getting a Sinestro Corpse ring back in the day. Gunn's got to do that too. I think we're gonna
I
get
mean,
like
this is
all the different
where
colors.
you want to know something interesting, actually. So I'm gonna actually
Yeah,
put all these on real quick. But I have a flash ring because
yeah.
I think this was right around the time like the New 52 started. Yeah, that from like fucking 12 years ago. But all of this was from like I think this was like right around the time New 52 started, if I remember correctly. Um I think I was like, yeah, 12 or 13. That would have been when it started. I'm showing my age a little bit. But I have all the rings here except for the white one because Brightest Day didn't come out yet, which featured the White Lanterns. So I never bothered to get a White Lantern ring. That's the one that's coming. It should be coming next week. I managed to find one on eBay for like $3. So I've had all these rings in my drawer for like almost over a decade, and I never got the White Lantern ring. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me get the White Lantern ring. We're doing all this. I'm getting all this DC swag anyway. So like, fuck it. And so yeah, that's how old these rings are. These are like almost a decade old. You can probably tell from the bag. The bag is fucking dirty as hell.
Kyle
But
says
yeah,
that
I
he has
have.
the box set. Kyle, you gotta send us a picture, man. You got a whole box set? Let us know.
Yeah, these just came in a
That's
bag. I'm not
awesome.
special, but I do have
um,
this
what do
one.
you think? Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the one. That's the best
Yeah,
one.
I like. Yeah, the metal is much better. It looks much cooler than the.
Yeah.
But these are like more for like kids, and they can actually fit my fat ass fingers. So, you know,
By the way, Kyle, definitely, if you've got a picture of those, let us know because that sounds awesome. You have got the whole box set. Yeah. I mean, by the way, that question from Manolo, I think Lobo's eyes would be an interesting how they address it. They don't need to be white. I don't think you need to do that in white. I mean,
mhm.
let Jason Momoa like act his way into your hearts. Like, don't cover his eyes in all white. You don't need that. I just remember like watching growing up the Stargate franchise, the Goa'uld, these aliens, their eyes would glow like a golden thing, and that means that oh, they are a Goa'uld. I just think it wouldn't work as well. What do you think?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I prefer a villain like that's lesser known. I don't want Dark Side. Like that was the biggest thing I fucking hated about this whole Snyderverse is they brought Darkseid in way too fucking early, and then it's like, oh, it's just a 5-movie arc, so we're gonna fucking kill Darkseid immediately, and then like that should be the fucking end game. Like that should be like all Justice League members fucking die fighting Darkseid, and like Superman gets the final blow or something like that. Like I just think that like that's what it should be. It just like doing Darkseid that early was just such a fucking stupid move, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, don't get me wrong, Darkseid's a great villain, and they could have used him very well. But like the fact that he was used that early, I didn't like it when they did it in the DCAMU either. Like that was fucking stupid too. So it's just like he should be like the very end, very, very, very end. Like that should be like the big bad. Like obviously, yes, Steppenwolf being like a villain at one point, but he shouldn't be the first fucking villain in the Justice League. Like have it be like Brainiac or the Legion of Doom or what would be another good like Amazo or something like that. It's just like I just feel like that was way too fucking. I know I'm going on a tangent, but it's just like I fucking hated that. But
It was early, but I think it was again, Zack Snyder was like, I'm not going to be around for very long doing this, so might as well like shoot for the fences. And that's why I think again at the end of the day, Zack Snyder was maybe not the best pick, despite the fact that I loved his movies. I'm in the camp that those movies were pretty good. Not the best, but they were pretty good. Man of Steel, BVS, even his Snyder cut, but I just don't think he was maybe the best person to do a whole cinematic universe that was built to last. I think they should have always just been like, all right, let him do his thing, then we're gonna do a proper cinematic universe. So, because he just never set the foundations to create the kind of sprawling universe that you would have wanted.
Problem is but then what about Batman? Like they were just gonna have like Clark Kent Jr. fucking like being Batman.
Well, I mean, Warner Brothers killed that pretty quickly, and I think Zach was like, yeah, maybe it wasn't my best idea. So
no, that was like the Lois Lane fucking Bruce thing. No, I know
oh,
they cut that
right.
out really quickly. But the end game, which like he planned for, was that Bruce was gonna die at the end of Justice League Part 3, and then Clark and Lois's son, who did not have superpowers, which like how the fuck that works, I don't know, was gonna become the next Batman. That's what the ending was
Right.
gonna be. And it's like, really? Like, come on, like that's so fucking like then you're gonna not have Bruce Wayne as that's ridiculous. But yeah, I just think yeah, they could have done a proper cinematic universe after that, but it's like then why are people gonna give it's not Bruce Wayne, so why do I care?
Yeah.
So
by the way, O'Shea asking a pretty good question, John. And to answer to respond to what you were saying, it's yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know much to add there. I agree. But what about O'Shea's question for the center?
The center. I've never heard of them before. Think of the Cadre. I think the Cadre is what you're thinking of, maybe. I've never heard of the center.
What about Justice League Frontier?
Frontier. Like the new Frontier is in the DC story?
Frontiers. Yeah,
No, well, not okay. The new Frontier is different, but Justice League Frontiers never heard of that. Yeah, the only thing that pops up is the new Frontier, which I don't think. I mean, that's not really a Justice League story. That's more of like a DC story. So I don't think that would work or make sense because that's like a Legion. That's Legion of Doom shouldn't have been like that. That was going to be part 2, but it's like you should have done that to begin with. Like,
yeah.
And then you had like the Riddler finding out the anti-life equation, and then he fucking kills himself or something. It was fucking stupid. Oh yeah, okay. So it's been a while since I've read the New Frontier, but yeah, I mean maybe, but I don't think they're gonna do that. I mean, sure, the New Frontier might have some inspiration for the DCU, but I don't think they should like adapt that because it makes no sense. Because the whole basis of that story is the fact that it takes place in like the 40s and 50s, like post World War II, and like the transition from darker edge golden age heroes like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but also like the JSA and all that stuff. and then transitioning to the more science fiction heavy heroes like the Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter, and like how, and then they made that work by making the Golden Age heroes and the Silver Age heroes join into one big timeline rather than, you know, what they did with the actual comics where they retconned it and it was a new universe. So I think that they should maybe be inspired by. I don't think they should adapt that, because that would be a good Elseworld story, like have like a good period piece. But I don't think that they should do that, because the setting and the time where it takes place is very heavy into what made that
Yeah,
story work. So I don't think they should do
yeah,
that.
yeah. O'Shea saying, "I don't know. I guess my mind is trying to already piece how all of this is gonna come together. Need James Gunn to let us in on the details. We'll see. I mean, it's whether they adopt it now, adapt it later, whether it's an Elseworld story or not. James Gunn will be making an appearance at the New York Comic Con in literally a month's time on October 19th. So if you're in the area, or if you can make the New York Comic Con, drop by, and he'll be talking about Creature Commandos alongside Frank Grillo, Steve G, Sean Gunn. There's going to be a bunch of other voice actors from the cast of Creature Commandos, and then they might slip us some details for the rest of the DCU plan. Maybe some new projects, maybe the overall trajectory where we were headed, what's going on with Superman, Peacemaker 2, as well as, of course, Waller, Lanterns, of course, Chris Pine looking fantastic. I love this concept art. Let us know in the comments what you think about Chris Pine as Hal Jordan. And of course, John, you've got the ring to prove it. So yeah, let's finish out the week strong, as we like to do. We've got to talk about a little bit about. I know you guys are interested in Green Lantern. We're gonna get back to Green Lantern in a bit because we have your comments to talk about. But before we do, let's kind of talk a little bit more about the Batman and the Penguin saga too, because it's all part of the Batman epic crime saga, the Bex,
Mm-hmm.
as it were. Matt Reeves has been, fielding interviews to promote the show, which is coming out literally in less than a week's time now. And he keeps being asked, of course, not only questions about the Penguin, but also the Batman. What's going on with the movie? What's going to happen with the sequel? And he was asked recently, are you still planning on doing the Batman as a trilogy, or is that second Batman movie that he's working on now, which is set to shoot next year and the script is almost done, is that going to be it? Like, or are you still thinking of doing this as a trilogy? So, and in short, he basically said, yes, this is gonna be a trilogy. It's the Batman Part 2 is not the end of his Dark Knight saga. So is that surprising? Do you feel like, I mean,
It's
and
not
also,
surprising, but I also don't fucking like it. It's just like you could have at least thrown us a bone and given us a proper saga, like the actual fucking name entails. But yeah, it's a trilogy to the surprise of no one, because trilogies are all the fucking rage nowadays. That's the thing. I thought fucking Scream 3 fucking shut this down easily fucking 20 years ago. Like, all right. Like, it's just the trilogy is just so played out. Make it a saga, make it 4 movies. It makes sense, because if you look at a timeline of like acts, it's Act 1, Act 2A, Act 2B, Act 3. That's how, because Act 2 is the longest out of all of them. You have like 20 minutes of setup, 20 minutes of a climax, and then the rest of the movie is like, it would be like 40 minutes, something like that. That not like that short, but like 30, and then like an hour. That would be like, that's how it like would be, but it's like a quarter, like 30, 30, 30, 30. That's every
yeah,
act, and sub act is 30 minutes. So that would make sense. Like, have the Batman be set up. That's Act 1. Hey Lenny, how you doing? Then you have the second movie being the fun and what's also called the fun and games, with Act 2A. So you have like some fun with it, but like not, but still have some character growth. And then 2A is like the fall, and then 3 is like you rise back up, and then he's in a better place. So that I just feel like the saga is more representative of a movie, but like stretched out into multiple
right.
movies. So yeah, 4 or 5 movies, the epic crime saga. Yeah, but I feel like now they're just gonna fill it with like fucking shows and stuff, which isn't bad. It's just like I feel like that's, now he could be saying, now there is some hope. I mean, that's what Batman is. He needs to become a beacon of hope. But I think this is just me being hopeful. Again, this is John's theory time. That would be awesome, by the way. John's theory time would be Matt Reeves does one trilogy, they bring in another director for another trilogy of movies. That would be good. He could just say, I'm doing a trilogy, but I'm done after a trilogy. However, they could bring in somebody else. Matt Reeves can give them the okay, like, okay, I'm fine with him or her, whoever they decide to pick as director, and then they can like go forth with what I created. I'll look over, I'll be an executive producer, I'll be like the showrunner of like this movie saga, even though that doesn't really make sense, but you know how it like
Right.
like kind of the CEO of this
Right.
sub like cinematic
Yeah.
universe, and then like but
Yeah.
have somebody else take the it's kind of like how James Cameron said he's like, I'll do the first 3 avatars, but after that I'll have someone else take the reins. So I think that's what they're gonna I think that's what they mean. I think he just means we're gonna do a trilogy. But if they're still making money by the end of part 3, WB is still gonna want to like, okay, we have 2 cinematic universes that are making money. If the DCU actually, gets off the ground and is making money, we're gonna fucking keep this going. Fuck it, let's just keep cranking them out. So then he'll be like, okay, I'll step back from directing. Maybe he'll keep writing, maybe not. Maybe they'll just get the other writer, the Terminator Zero writer, which I still need to watch. He'll have like maybe he'll write them, get another director, and then they'll continue it for as long as they need. And I think that is what we would hope for. That's what I hope for, because I just think it's just like the trilogy is just like there's not enough of Batman to like just have a trilogy. Like as much as I like the Dark Knight trilogy, it just felt kind of um limiting that they just did a trilogy. I think they need to do more. Batman is so illustrious with this world. That's why they're doing TV shows and stuff. So I think they need to give him another trilogy to show, well, maybe like if like this first trilogy is like him at the start, and then maybe like the second trilogy, you still have Robert Pattinson. Like he'll be more of a veteran. Maybe they'll have Robin. I think that would be really awesome. But that's just me. That's just me being hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately at the end of the day, whether we get 3 movies or not, like the second movie has to be a hit first, right?
Hmm.
Like the biggest reason why they've been able to do the Penguin at all is because the first Batman was so good and Colin Farrell chewed up the scenery every moment he was in the movie, and they felt like they needed to explore that character further. So the second movie, if it flops, then this universe is going to end pretty quickly. Like they just, so I like the fact that he's got a plan, and because he said that, so far the plan is going pretty much exactly how he expected. And where they go from here, yeah, it will depend on how each project does. Because the Penguins got a score in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, so far they haven't missed, right? And then O'Shea was asking whether they're going to have to limit this because of the fact that there's a DCU Batman that's going to be, in our hearts and minds, and he has to compete with that in a few years. I don't think it's going to matter as much because the two will be so different. So as long as they can differentiate between the two, I think we'll be fine. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Do you want to see a trilogy here? Oh, Fiona's in the chat. Hey, Fiona. And welcome, Lenny, of course. We've got the ladies joining the chat. And yeah, bring in an Elseworld Superman and Wonder Woman, says Lenny. We should. I mean, why not? I would love to see these other projects. And so, yeah, I think that would be fantastic. John, I have to ask you, how do we end these shows every day? Do you know? What is it that we like to do to finish off these shows? Especially a big week like this one.
One big orgy. That's how we do it. That's how we end it.
Exactly. That's but in reality, what we like to do is we like to talk about your comments, and you guys have been leaving us some fantastic comments in the chat. Say hello to Zelda. Hi, Zelda. Here she is. Yeah, she's tired. It's late. We gotta get on to the weekend, guys. But before we do that, let's dive into the comments that we've got here. So, who's left to play Green Lantern? That's what we were talking about a couple of days ago. And essentially, Buster Barnes giving me some flack for my take. because I was like, yeah, you know what? I do think the first Suicide Squad movie was quite enjoyable. And he's like, that Suicide Squad versus the Suicide Squad take is horrible, bro. The first one had a good cast, but it's horrible. I'm like, come on, man, you gotta cut me some slack. I've tried. Look. Here's the thing. I'll just say this: the first Suicide Squad movie is infinitely watchable. The second Suicide Squad movie, I struggle to watch it more than maybe like once every other year, and that's just me, right? Like movies hit everybody in different ways. For me, the first Suicide Squad works, even though I know that they did a lot of stuff to that movie where like the end sequence could have been so different, and like the character wouldn't have died. Like, what's the name of the character? The guy who becomes like a big flaming skeleton. I forget.
Incubus.
Incubus. Yeah, I was like, he wasn't supposed. He was supposed to. Was he supposed to die or not die? I don't know. The whole
Or are
third
you
act was
thinking of
supposed to
El
be different.
Diablo?
El Diablo, yes, El Diablo. That dude, yes. He was like, I'm just trying to get you there, like Will Smith. When he's like, he goes crazy. The pyro. What do they call him at the beginning of the movie? Pyrotechnic homeboy. Which I was like laughing at that. I was just like, that's hilarious. Hey, they said it in the movie. I'm just repeating what was in the film.
Yeah, and it was shitty ass fucking dialogue.
Yes. Well, all right. Thanks for the comment there, Buster. You're always in the chat and always in the comments. Let's move on to the next comment, guys. So Temple 277 responding to the all the talk about the Penguin yesterday, John. Because you guys were talking about the show that's coming out literally on September 19th. It's less than a week away. And so relating to the Batman, of course, since Colin said what he did about not wanting to wear that suit again. So Colin Farrell basically was saying like, hey, I kind of got a little tired of, being in hair and makeup for like 8 hours a day. So Temple was like, hey, I wonder if Matt is considering making a show about the other villain just in case Colin never comes back as Penguin in season 2, or if or what is that? If he is, though, which Batman villain would you want to see the HBO show about? So I guess, John, the question is, do you want to see another villain in a future HBO show that is in the world of the Batman? I mean, and then Temple continues to say, my choice would definitely be either Scarecrow or Two-Face. While I am tired of seeing maybe mainly grounded villains, Batman, it looks like, the world of the Batman, it would fit to get more of those grounded villains. Who would you like to do? You want to see Joker maybe have his own spin-off show? Of course, do we have Joker Overload? What are your thoughts? Do you think if Colin Farrell does
Definitely
leave
not
the
Joker.
role,
Definitely
like
not fucking Joker.
Who would be like the next big villain to come out of this universe?
I don't think Scarecrow is big enough of a villain to make a whole show based around him. Like, unless you do like an entire from like when he's like a fucking regular Joe Schmo and then he like turns into a villain, maybe you can make that work for like a 4-episode miniseries. But like even then, that might be like pushing it. Two-Face could maybe work again if you make it that turn, like Harvey Dent, and then by the end he's Two-Face. Like you got to have that turn. I feel like the Penguin is illustrious with the whole mob thing. You're bringing the Falcones, the Maronis. Like you have like the context of the end of the Batman. I agree. Like I love the Joker, but too much. And I just think that would be, I don't like in terms of like a villain for I don't know, because the thing is I feel like you would have to make it in the context of the Batman, and we would have to see where that goes. Like we don't know who the villain of the second movie is. We don't know if like the certain things are set up. So we would have to see, like in general, I can't really think of one that would make like
yeah, sorry, I think Chris is responding to a question from earlier.
Yeah, but the thing is, Dredd's a very like kind of one-note character, so like you don't really need to do much with him. Batman has more layers to him, so I don't think you really need to worry about. Like, I love Dredd. Dredd 3D is fucking amazing movie. I'm still pissed we didn't get a fucking sequel, but but the Dredd is a bit of a one-note character. Like the reason that movie works was because of the like Anderson and like the whole thing with the building and all that. So yeah, but that's beside the point. So with a villain, I don't know, like Mr. Freeze, as you said, could be really good. Court of Owls could definitely be its own miniseries, like the history of Gotham, like that could be really awesome.
I mean, and also Matt Reeves has been hinting that the second movie we might get the Court of Owls anyway.
I think
So
everybody really wants
that would
Court
be
of Owls
perfect.
at this point.
Yeah. By the
But
way, I
I
think
just
yeah. Can I hijack the show real quick? Zelda wants
Yeah,
to say
sure.
goodnight. Everybody say goodnight to Zelda. All right, Zelda. Good night. Bye. Okay. All right. Sorry, John. Continue. You were
No,
saying.
you're fine. It's just like I think
Yeah.
would be another really good villain. Like I don't know, like because I think a lot of them can make really good movies. Like I think you could have a good Clayface movie, a good Two-Face movie, a Mr. Freeze movie. Like a lot of these guys can make great movies. I don't know about shows. Shows, unless it's like a bat like villain show where it's different each episode, or like every 2 episodes they get like their own arc. But I
Yeah.
think it's like I don't know, like I don't think any of them really work. I can't really think of any. Like I like in the context of the Batman, the only other one I can think of is Catwoman. But that's we can't get a Riddler show because that would just be an Arkham show, which I wouldn't mind seeing. But if we're talking about one villain, the only one I could see is Catwoman. But she's like more of an anti-hero now. I mean, maybe Poison Ivy can make a good show, but again, it's like we don't really know what we're in for with the sequel. So I would say it all depends on context.
Yeah.
And outside of that context, I don't know if any of them can really make a show work. You know,
Yeah.
they would have to be connected to an established Batman.
The next villain that I can see having their own thing of any kind, whether it's a movie or a TV show, would be Catwoman. That's just built the way they leave her story off in the first movie. But let's get on to the last comment of the day, the last comment of the week that we want to feature here, of course. JB, I don't know, I think you might be in the chat right now, but you left us a comment on yesterday's show. And again, talking about the Penguin, why put so much focus on the Penguin unless he is the big villain in the Batman 2? Or is this series a send-off for the Penguin?
Definitely not a send-off, because they definitely confirmed that he's going to be in the second Batman movie. So
yeah.
In terms of that, I don't, because the thing is, we've could have gotten him as a side character, his own show, and then a big role in a movie. That's too much Penguin, man. Like that's way too much Penguin. Like I like the Penguin, I like Colin Farrell's Penguin. That's too much Penguin. Way too much Penguin. So I think that he needs to be like a side character in. Maybe he teams up with Batman to fight the Court of Owls. I suggested that I think a day or two ago, like him being kind of like what him and Sophia Falcone are in the show. Like he needs a temporary alliance with Batman because Court of Owls are a greater threat, so they need to team up for like two movies to fucking fight them or something. I don't know, but I think that should be. I think he should not be like the main villain. It's just like way too much of this character. And I feel like Colin Farrell, like he's just like, he didn't say he was done. He was just like, I need a fucking break, man. I need a break. Cause like I'm wearing like 40 pounds of makeup. This shit takes like 8 hours to apply. I need a break. And like being in this headspace for this fucking atrocious character, I need a fucking break. He's bro is probably gonna do a comedy after this. Like he's just like, give me a comedy. I need to fucking do anything after this. So yeah, I think Bully needs a break, and I don't think he wants to be the main villain because he's like, it's too much for me. So he'll show up again, obviously. He will show up, but like I think he needs a break.
Yeah. By the way, the watcher saying, did you guys see where Reeves said the Batman 2 is set is during the winter? Is that a hint? Could be a Mr. Freeze hint. Could be the fact that it's just set in the winter time. I mean, it doesn't need to be because of Mr. Freeze is in there. But it could be hinting at that. Who knows? Court of Owls, I think, is probably the one that we're gonna get. Those are the villains we're gonna get to see. I have to head out because the corgi here, Zelda, would like me to serve her, as all corgis like to use their humans as servants. And I'm sure you guys have a weekend to get on to, and John might be headed on his way to an orgy, as he suggested earlier.
I mean, a man can dream, right? So,
I don't have friends. I got family.
Like a
Dan
taste in your
believes in
mouth, you know, you
incest,
just
ladies
gotta
and gents. So
I did not that's not at all what I was implying there. But on that note, guys, thank you so much for another wonderful week with DCU Daily. We'll be back on Monday with a new episode, and we'll have the Also Curious show on Tuesday. We'll be reviewing The Killer's Game. We also have Speak No Evil Friday the 13th. If you are not already watching the movie today, and if you haven't had a chance to get out to the movie theater and it's still got some time in your day, then go check out a film. Go check out a horror movie if you're a fan.
Fucking Friday the 13th. You got like 17 movies to choose from. Boom, there you go.
Or you can watch something DC related. That's what we're here to talk about. So we'll see you on the other side of the weekend with more DCU Daily, with the Also Curious show. We'll talk about Green Lantern, any new news from James Gunn, The Lantern Show, Peacemaker, Superman, Joker Follow You Do, The Penguin. We're here for it. You're here for it. Thanks as always, of course. Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Ray J. Thank you, Watcher. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Thank you, O'Shea. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you to Hunter Iggy. Thank you to Kyle. Thank you to Manolo. Thank you to Morikatna. Thank you to everybody. Hugo Millie. Thank you. I don't know if I've missed any kudos. Thank you to you as well. Thank you to JB. Thank you to everybody in the. Thank you to Pluto. Thank you to Temple 277. Everybody in the comments. Thank you to our friendly neighborhood Snyder Troll. You know, we love to hear the hack. Hashtag fire James Gunn, hashtag boycott WBD. It's fun, you know, we love it. It's just, you know, friendly banter. So we'll be back with that and so much more next week. Until then, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the other end of the weekend for another episode of DC Daily. Until then, John, have yourself a very good family weekend.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family?